Breaking news, Elon Musk has just offered to buy Twitter, and we're going to go through what has happened since he initially bought his stocks, the effect on the Twitter employees themselves, which has been glorious, and then talk about, again, this most breaking news, literally like 20 minutes before the podcast, that this was announced. So there's not that much to talk about on it, but I'll go through the details. But before we do, it might be worth trying to understand the game that Elon Musk is playing. Now, a lot of people have been comparing this to Game of Thrones, and that's true. And Game of Thrones is basically based on The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli. And you can check out our book club of that at lotus.com. It's one of our premium series, and I go through The Prince with Bo, talking about exactly why this was such an impactful book, because it is the origin point of political science, and it will help you understand the game that Elon Musk is playing. But anyway, let's get into it. So Elon Musk, when he purchased his 9.2%, I think it was, share of the Twitter stocks, basically the experts, the professors who deal with this sort of thing on a daily basis, were saying, well, look, this is clearly part of an activist drive. And it's not like Elon Musk had made any secret of that at all. Free speech sucks on Twitter, doesn't it? Yeah. Maybe I should do something about that. Yeah, maybe you should, Elon. Yeah. How about me being the biggest shareholder? Well, that's a start. Brandeis University finance professor Anna Shabina told NPR that she predicts Musk could potentially turn into an activist investor. Yeah, brilliant prediction. Putting pressure on the management until he gets his agenda done. She said that activist investors also install people who share their point of view on the board, and in more aggressive cases, even attempt to replace the company's CEO. Well, how aggressive do we think that Elon Musk is planning to be? Well, we actually know that he's planning to be really aggressive. See, I prepared this segment this morning not knowing that Elon Musk was going to just ante up and try and buy the entire thing. So it's very convenient timing, frankly. Don't know how he knew I was doing that. Anyway, so this is not, she's not the only person who said this either. Don Blisson of Gordon Haskett Research Advisors told CNBC that the flip side to this is that Twitter must deal with a wild card investor that already owns 9% of the company and has the resources to buy the remaining 91%. Again, this all seems to have aged very well, to be honest, isn't it? Just sitting there with a massive pile of gold, just being like, yeah, so, all in. But I like the way they view this, right? So another analyst says this is clearly going to be an unfriendly situation. Instead, I mean, we might describe it as a hostile takeover, right? Instead of Musk in the boardroom, in the corner, just saying yay or nay, agreeing on board candidates, it's going to I think it's going to get to the point in the coming days that we'll see him going to hostile, more active moves. Yes,
How this is described, though, as if it's unfriendly, it's hostile. Well, what's he doing? He's arguing for free speech. Yeah. And this kind of environment, it can't be accepted.
But that's not what he means by hostile. What he means is essentially forced, right?
Sure.
So whether I mean, that's not what this offer to buy is either. They can refuse the offer, but then Elon could just sit there and buy up shares until he's 51% of the company and then just make them do what he wants. But we'll talk about that in a minute.
For every day Donald Trump is not online, I shall buy a percent.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, he's just totally capable of doing that. But anyway, so moving on, Fox News posted an article by someone who writes for Revolver News called Darren Beattie, who had a much more culture war take on this, saying, well, look, this is basically a declaration of war on a corrupt regime in Twitter, which is, I think, correct. I think that's exactly how Elon Musk is looking at this, and that's how I would look at this, and I think that's how Twitter themselves are looking at this.
I mean, it's so true, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
They can see that they're illegitimate and corrupt.
Yeah.
The fact that they control the public square for all mainstream politicians, let's say, because you can see them all on there with their verified check marks, and then they all circle jerk and only interact with each other, which is why you end up with like conservative MPs whining about, well, I don't want to say that a trans woman isn't a woman.
Yeah, I know.
Well, people might disagree. Who?
Twitter people, the Twittering classes.
But this corrupt group of people that manage the whole thing see themselves as corrupt.
But I think he's got a good summary of what's going on here, right? He says he's stepping into a war zone in a way that he might not even be able to imagine at this point. As you point out, the entire regime depends upon holding a total monopoly over Elon rightly calls the global public square, which is Twitter. Anyone who threatens that steps into territory that is not a normal financial realm. Twitter is not a normal company. The question of who controls Twitter is far more consequential than, say, who controls Home Depot, even though Home Depot is a vastly large company. So he needs to be prepared. So and I agree with him that it's the question of who controls the global public square is more than the relatively meager 30 billion that Twitter is priced at. So the question is Elon offering enough to get them past the the pleasure of having control of that and saying, well, I mean, it is an extra 10 billion profit. Maybe we will check that out and, not our problem then. Who knows? But anyway, so on April, the 7th of April, the Twitter employees were deeply shook by this. When Elon released his filing saying, well, yeah, I'm buying a large chunk of your company, in fact. The Twitter employees refused to talk to Reuters without anonymity. So we don't know who they are, but they're random Twitter employees, apparently. So they spoke to Reuters, and they were concerned about his ability to influence the company's policies on abusive users and harmful content. Come on. So they say that with Musk on the board, because this was before he refused the accepting of the board's offer to not buy more than 14.9% of the stocks in order to have one vote on the board, which would have totally put him in chains. They said his views on moderation could weaken the years-long efforts to make Twitter a place of healthy public discourse and might allow trolling and mob attacks to flourish. Come on, Elon.
Oh, no.
Yeah. The employees also said, longer term, they said that Musk's involvement may change Twitter's corporate culture, which they say currently values inclusivity. Right, so it's an SJW corporate culture at Twitter, and Elon Musk might change that. Good. So, Elon Musk was like, well, why don't I just do an Ask Me Anything with the Twitter employees? And that'll go well. He said he'd try and calm them down by doing an Ask Me Anything style town hall, which Parag Agrawal was like, yeah, that's a great idea. This will calm them all down. This will bring them on side. One worker, though, suggested that Musk's values were contradictory to those of Twitter. Quote, we know that he has caused harm to workers. People at Twitter. Musk has harmed them. The trans community, women, and others with less power in the world. Elon Musk is a brute. He's
He's able to harm you with his smile.
With his tweets.
Yeah.
Oh, how are we going to reconcile this decision with our values? Does innovation trump humanity? What I love about that question, though, is that it demonstrates that, yes, Elon Musk is going to improve Twitter. He's going to innovate. He's going to do things they refuse to do for ideological reasons. And, so they're worried. They're deeply shook that this is going to change things, because it would have changed things, at least in some way. But Elon Musk, of course, did not accept the position on the Twitter board of directors, and so he cancelled it. And so,
well, because there was obviously a ploy. I mean, just to hammer it down. So he brought 9%, and then Twitter were like, hey, you can come on the board, but you'll only be able to own 14% maximum.
And you'll be outvoted 11-1.
So he was like, well, that's clearly a trap.
Yes.
New.
Yes. But this has put the Twitter employees into a bit of a tizzy, because it kind of looks like he's gaslighting them a bit, because they were like, okay, well, at least we're going to be able to talk to him, maybe make our case heard. It's like, no, now you're going to get nothing, right? And so, as the New York Post reports, Twitter is a total S show on the inside at this point. I am absolutely loving every second of this, right? As they report, Elon Musk's looming battle with Twitter board is a source of major anxiety for company employees. There are a bunch of SJWs who are literally quaking in their boots in Twitter at the moment. His surprise rejection of the Twitter board seat emerged ahead of the scheduled day of rest for company employees. So the uncertainty left Twitter workers feeling super stressed, quote unquote, about the future, with employees reportedly working together to help each other get through the week. Anyway, the report cited interviews with Twitter employees who asked not to be identified while discussing the company's inner workings. Several employees told the outlet that Twitter's internal environment was an S show after Musk's dealing with the board fell through. One Twitter employee griped that Musk was likely just getting started with pushing for change at the company, a development the worker described as unfortunate, according to Bloomberg. This is great.
Again, though, because as you pointed out, like, he's going to innovate the place. He's going to make the place better. He's going to make it more free. And all of them accept that, which makes them de facto reasoning that they are the corrupt, retarding force within the entire company.
Yes, they have managed to capture Twitter as an institution and turn it into a platform
weapon.
Yeah, exactly, a weapon for social justice. And Elon Musk has the power to buy his way in and change all of that. And they are absolutely quaking in their boots. They know the controlling power that Twitter has on the public discourse. They know that Elon Musk actually opens this up to other ideological perspectives, then they are going to lose. They're not going to win in the marketplace of ideas. So you got people like Robert Reich, who's just, this is just such a big self-report. I love this. Elon Musk's vision for the internet is dangerous nonsense. Robert Reich is a neoliberal shill professor who always shills for everything left-wing, even though he claims not to be a socialist. But I love look at the little tagline down there, right? And they changed this. John, you should have kept the archive. I got the archive for a reason, because they changed this, right? They say Musk faces no limit on how much Twitter stock he can buy. He'll buy as much as he needs to gain control. But that wasn't the original tagline. The original tagline was, Musk has long advocated a libertarian vision of an uncontrolled internet. That's also the dream of every dictator, strongman, and demagogue.
CCP, love a free and uncontrolled internet.
Yeah, Xi Jinping's uncontrolled internet.
Kim Jong-un's uncontrolled internet.
What are you? Hello, base department. What are you talking about?
Do you know what internet they have in North Korea?
Very limited, I imagine.
Literally zero. They have an intranet,
Right,
which
yeah,
is
I bet
an
they
internal
do.
circuit
Yeah, I know,
that
yeah.
only they can access with predetermined sites.
I bet
the
they do.
libertarian fantasy.
Yes, like this guy is just so delusional at this point to say that but what this is a big self-report, right? It's not that Elon Musk allowing everyone to use Twitter freely is what dictators want. He's got the dictatorial position where he doesn't allow people to engage in the libertarian vision of an uncontrolled internet. It's a controlled internet that he's trying to protect, and he knows it. And so he goes to this. We'll skip over it because it's really not that interesting. Although actually there are a few bits, so I will go through them. So he says, Musk says he wants to free the internet, but what he really aims to do is make it even less accountable than it is now. Okay? When it's often impossible to discover who is making the decisions about how algorithms are designed, well, we'd know. It'd be Elon Musk.
Yeah, like we have no idea at this point.
Yeah, exactly. It's BlackRock at this point, and the other like international conglomerate companies that own 8% or whatever share of Twitter. Like, this is not good people. And it's totally opaque, as you say. At least we'd have a person that we could hold accountable on that. But yeah, like, who is filling social media with lies? Who is poisoning our minds with pseudoscience and propaganda? Dude, just define woman for me, all right? Who's deciding which versions of events go viral and which stay under wraps? Make no mistake, this is not about freedom, it's about power. Big self-report.
Who's controlling what goes viral? You.
Yeah, exactly.
There are a horde of individuals who are banned from all of these platforms.
Yep.
To the point that, well, you can't even mention some of their names without getting hit up by a bot. And some of them have been reduced for simply saying that the government is locally corrupt. I mean, Voice of Wales being the best one for that.
Oh, yeah.
Just like, yeah, our local government sucks. And then instantly just deplatform from everything.
Yep. And so he is absolutely on suicide watch over this. He's crying into his pillow. He is deeply, deeply upset. And so anyway, let's get to then today's breaking news. After Elon Musk has basically just... what I love about this is if you Twitter as an institution, Elon Musk has just come up and just start shaking the whole thing, and everyone inside is now crying.
Well, they
and
think
mewling.
they're all so powerful.
Yeah.
Like, they controlled everything, and then this big rich man just came along and went, I have money.
Yeah, exactly. You work with money. So he's shaking, and they're all crying like the whole thing's about to fall apart. And it's like, well, okay, good. And so just before the podcast, he tweets out, I made an offer. And he is linked to the filing of him offering this money. But the Daily Mail has reported on it, so we'll use theirs just to make it easy
So
for
I also
ourselves.
love, because have you ever seen Elon talk about his money?
Yeah, I mean, probably. Why?
There's the fact of, like, he'll say about, like, the interviewer asked him, how does it feel to now be the world's richest man? He was like, I owned some stock, it went up, and then I was really rich.
Yeah.
So like, nothing had changed for him.
Yeah.
So then when he cashed it in and got his money, I imagine him just sat there one day on this huge pile of cash that he'd got out of nowhere in his own mind, and just been like, if only there was some way I could fix things in this world. Wait a minute. Like, I have tons of cash.
Anyway, as the Daily Mail report, Elon Musk has offered to buy Twitter for $41.39 billion. That makes it $54 a share, which is apparently...
54.20.
Oh,
420.
good point. Good point. Okay, yeah, no, good point, Elon. 54.20, which is 38% above the closing price of Twitter stock on April the 1st. And so that's great. I mean, that's a huge amount up. That's a third extra of what Twitter's worth at about 30 billion. So, I mean, he is offering them a significant profit on this investment. What do you reckon they're going to do?
I don't know, because, of course, this is power that they want to keep for themselves. but we know that socialists are prostitutes.
Yes.
I mean, every single time one of
Yes.
them gets offered a huge amount of cash, they seem to take it.
Yes.
I mean, the Black Lives Matter people, Hassan Piker, AOC's crew, Bernie Sanders. I mean, every single American leftist just takes the money.
But I mean, I don't know. I think they're going to say no. I don't think.
I think they
they're
very
gonna
well
do
might do, because this is so powerful.
this. Yeah.
This is not an embarrassment
Yeah.
for them. This is the loss of control.
Yeah. Exactly. This is ceding the reins of the direction in which public discourse goes.
And it's
I
not
don't
just
think they do.
control of a few individuals, because
No.
remember, I imagine Americans don't think about this much, but like every parliament in Europe, pretty much, all of the politicians sit on twitter.com and get their
influence,
worldviews
yeah.
from those places, no matter how conservative they apparently are. And therefore, not only do you have control over the American political sphere, but like all of the Western parliaments,
Mm-hmm.
you de facto control ideologically.
Yep. It's mad, isn't it? But Elon Musk had, in the filing, said this. I invested in Twitter and I believe in its potential to be the platform for free speech around the globe. And I believe free speech is a societal imperative for a functioning democracy. However, since making my investment, I now realize the company will neither thrive nor serve this social imperative in its current form. Twitter needs to be transformed as a private company. So at the moment, it's a publicly traded company. He wants to buy it all and make it a private company that he personally owns. Okay, I mean, that would be great. As a result, I'm offering to buy 100% of Twitter for $54.20 per share in cash, a 54% premium over the day before I began investing in Twitter, and a 38% premium over the day before my investment was publicly announced. This, my offer is my best and final offer, and if not accepted, I would need to reconsider my position as a shareholder. Twitter has an extraordinary potential. I will unlock it. Musk added that this offer was not a threat. I find that really amusing. Like, if you have to say that this isn't a threat, it's a threat. But he says, no, it's simply not a good investment without the changes that need to be made. This is a threat, right? This is
It's not
Elon.
a threat, it's a knife.
Yeah, exactly. This is Elon playing the prince here. And he says these changes won't happen without taking the company private. So let's go. So there's an interesting bit here that's... if this is not accepted, this is the only offer, and apparently he's not prepared to negotiate on it. I would be surprised if he's not prepared to negotiate on it. I'd be surprised if the Twitter board aren't like, okay, well, more, and then maybe, or something like that, right? I bet he would negotiate on it.
I bet he'd double it.
I bet he would, yeah. But he says, I would need to reconsider my position as a shareholder. Now, I'm no expert, but this looks to me like there's two potential options here. So one, he dumps all of his Twitter stock, right? That's 2.9 billion or something in stock, which is going to crash their share price. Right? That means
Not to mention all the other memers who have jumped on board.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's going to crash their share price, and therefore Twitter shares are going to plummet in value, causing the company to lose even more money. Right? The people who are invested in Twitter, who are all the multinational investment corporations, I mean, how much is control of this platform worth before they're like, okay, well, this is costing us money, we're going to have to get rid of it, right? Who knows? The second option is that Elon reconsiders his position as a shareholder, as in being merely one out of multiple shareholders, and he's just like, well, then I'll just buy more until I control 51% of your company, and I'll force you to do what I want. Because that's also well within Elon Musk's power. Like, he could do either one. And so, like, they must be, no wonder all the Twitter employees are sweating bullets right now.
Like, I don't think there is any way for him to lose, except the offering of him on the board, where he was capped at 14.
Yeah, that seems to have been the only way that they could have actually corralled him, because there's nothing stopping him from buying 51% of the company, of the shares. And, I mean, what are their options? Like, Elon's basically got them in this big bear trap, and it's like, okay, well, do what you like.
I suppose for them to buy all the shares before he can?
Yeah, well, are they prepared to? Are BlackRock and all of these other investment companies prepared to pour more money in to try and match Elon's like share buying to make Twitter like one of the most expensive companies on earth or something? I don't know. And even then, and if Elon is the sort of man who doesn't care about money, which honestly, he kind of looks that way, but he's actually not that bothered about money. This doesn't seem to be a driving motivation for him.
That's what I said about when you see him talk about how he got his hoard of cash. He's just like, yeah, it was there all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't think about it at all, which is why I did a calculation before we started as well for like, I put it for the average American, what would this cost in proportion to his wealth? Mm-hmm. And it's the equivalent of the average American spending $14,000.
So he could spend this 2 or 3 times over and not really notice.
Because it's a bit expensive, but you know, It's a hobby.
If you're invested in it. And so
New car.
basically, are these investment firms prepared to burn money to keep up with a man who literally doesn't seem to care about burning money and is also the richest man who's ever lived?
He literally has more than you.
But maybe not more than all of them put together. So all of them together may be able to outbid him and, again, just burn their money on Twitter for the sake of controlling Twitter. Whereas Elon Musk will do it probably just to ruin them.
Let them do it and then sell the shares, and then it crashes and they've lost even more money.
Exactly. This is just really high-stake game for them that Elon Musk is playing that he doesn't look like he can actually lose at. So the question is, how badly do they want to take the L on this? And if they're sensible, they'll take the L making a profit. Right? They can walk away with $10 billion, make a profit, maybe get more out of him, maybe negotiate upwards, because I'm sure he's probably not as, hard line on that as he sounds, as his statement sounds. But like, how big an L are they going to take is what this looks like. Right? And so I find this absolutely fascinating. I'm absolutely loving the way this is going. And Twitter have accepted, or at least recognized they have the proposal. So if you can go to, not the Financial Times one, the next one, John, the last one. So Twitter has responded to the offer to buy their entire company. Twitter Inc. confirmed it has received an unsolicited, non-binding proposal from Elon Musk to acquire all of the company's outstanding common stock for $54.20 per share in cash. The fact that you can do this in cash. The Twitter board of directors will carefully review the proposal to determine the course of action that it believes is in the best interest of the company and all of the Twitter stockholders. That sounds like a sweating bullets answer. So wait a minute. Can he ruin us? Can he cost us billions and billions of dollars, pull out, make money maybe, and then laugh in our faces?
Not even feel it.
No,
you will end up in
even if he
poverty.
loses everything. So what? He's still the richest man in the world. Like, god damn, what a horrible position to be in for the Twitter board of directors and shareholders.
I mean, there's no one who deserves it more as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You absolute censorious tyrants deserve someone like Elon Musk absolutely ruining you. So yeah, I'm absolutely here for this. We have no further information at this time. I can't imagine. I knew it wouldn't be long till Elon Musk did something as well. I knew it wouldn't be long. He's the kind of guy who knows what he's trying to do here. He, like I said, go check out our book club on the Prince because he knows what he's doing. And I guess we'll leave that there.
Thank you for watching, and if you appreciated that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can support us and find more at lotuseaters.com. For example, the latest premium podcast that I did with Thomas, talking about what exactly are leftists teaching our kids. And if you would like to find more from me and follow me, you can do so at Getter at Harry Lotus Eater. Thank you and goodbye.